Let's discuss The Acolyte, Episode 3. A very divisive one, to be sure. This is Darth Vader Unlimited. Give yourself to the dark side. Not the dark thread, but the dark side of the Force. The Force, of course, bars, is an all-encompassing mystical energy field that connects every living thing. Yoda, Master Yoda, explained this to my son Luke on Dagobah in The Empire Strikes Back. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you. Between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between the land and the ship. Beautifully done. Expertly done. Voiceover by Frank Oz. Awesome direction by Irvin Kershner. To make a puppet, the Yoda puppet, have that much feeling. That is the essence of Star Wars. Now we come to Destiny. This is a flashback episode where it tells us about the origins of May and Osha. Now remember, in the first episode, we were led to believe that May was dead because of Master's soul saying so. But at the beginning of the episode, we see May destroy Master Indara. So when the scene shifts to Osha, we're thinking, wait, this Sith assassin, this Jedi murderer, is masquerading as an engineer? Why? But we learn over the course of the episode that she had a twin sister. I can't quite say it as well or as sinister as James Earl Jones did, but I'll get there one day. Anyway, I'm Darth Vader Unlimited. He's Darth Vader. He's the authentic thing. I'm the authentic Darth Vader Unlimited. Anyway, so from the gate, this was called a very divisive episode. This was called an episode that could possibly break Star Wars. So I came into it with ambivalence from the gate, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't sure which direction the episode would go in, even though I knew kind of the fine points of the episode beforehand. But as I watched it, I said, you know what? This isn't as bad as everyone said. Yes, I'll say it here first. It's not as bad as everyone is making it out to be. It is not. I like the dynamic between May and Osha as little girls. They come across as little girls. Now, the acting is a little cheesy. It's a little forced here and there. But I do like the dynamic. May obviously is the more outgoing one, and Osha is the more reserved one. May wants to do everything with her twin sister, Osha. Osha wants her own life. May wants to remain on the planet Brendok. Okay. And I like the setting. It's in a jungle, or no, not really a jungle, but more of a forest. I didn't really see any signs of swamp or like meadows or wetlands. So it's more of a forest, okay? And their fortress where they live is basically a gutted mountain. And I loved the design of that fortress. I loved it. Every time there was a wide shot showing the mountain and the big gash in it, I said, this was awesome. And you can tell from the reactor and it was like a computer data bank. It was like a room with just the computer data banks in it. That this was probably a holdover from antiquity. Maybe the remnant of a base of an ancient war. I mean, that would be pretty cool. I would love that backstory. But this whole episode is about backstory, about May and Osha. So we see that May is somebody that flaunts her, what we believe initially are Force powers. Now, once we know that she has Force powers, it's a matter of deductive reasoning to assume that Osha, the less sort of demonstrative one, would also have Force powers since they are twins. So then the scenery changes. We see a Zabrak female, which I didn't know existed. but a Zabrak female, because I thought all the Zabrak on Dathomir were males. So I was proven wrong. I liked her design. Her name is Mother Carla. No, was it Carla? Coral, excuse me. Mother Coral. And she is in a lesbian relationship with Mama. Her name was something that began with an A. And she was a more regal looking ebony queen. And she has a pinwheel in the middle of her forehead. And I said, that reminds me of the pinwheel above May's left eyebrow, which Master Andara saw in their encounter in the first episode, Lost/Found. So we're introduced to this coven. Of course, there are no men there because in the new regime of Ditzy, man, bad, woman, good. So there are no men there. And we learn later on that Osha and May are the only children there. Now, that was a red flag immediately. The only two children there is a set of twins. And then we see when Mother Coral, I keep changing her name. In the initial scene, we see that Mother Coral snatches up both May and Osha and says, "It's dangerous out here." And I'm like, why? Are there wild animals or what? And then we see a younger Master Soul sneaking around, almost like, okay, I won't say what I'm thinking, but he's sneaking around, spying on children. Cringe. So then we see the interior of the mountain. We learn that Osha and May are supposed to be participating in a ceremony called the Ascension. We have no idea what the Ascension is. We don't. They never tell us what it does. Or maybe they did and I just wasn't interested. But at the end of the episode, I was like, I don't know what the Ascension is, but somehow May is a willing participant of this coven. She wants to stay inside the fortress, even though she snuck out to find out what Osha was doing. But never mind that. And she wants to remain in the fortress. She doesn't want to leave. Osha, on the other hand, wants to go. She doesn't want to be cooped up in that nunnery, that convent, basically. It's called a coven, but it's basically a convent of witches. So they are told that they're supposed to be participating in the Ascension ceremony. You can see them sort of fighting and acting like kids, which I appreciated. Again, the acting a little clunky, but I like the fact that they're kind of playing off each other because the twins are not identical. You can clearly tell them apart, but you can tell they're sisters, and they act well enough to let you know that they are sisters. Sisters, okay? So then the bombshell drops. Why they're the only two children there. Later on in the episode, Mother Coral, the Zabrak, says, "I carried them." And then Mama, I don't remember her name, the ebony woman with the pinwheel in the center of her forehead, says, "I created them." And that superseded all rights that the Zabrak Mother Coral had, which I thought was bizarre, because generally whoever carries the children is the one that has all the rights. So I thought that was interesting, that twist. All right. So May participates in the Ascension ceremony. You can tell that Osha wants nothing to do with it. Now, this is where the episode gets wanky. Yes, I used that word, wanky. The music starts sucking so badly. There's this chanting. These women are reaching up. It looks like they're having an orgy with their hands. Pulling. Sounds like they're giving birth at times. Breathing like a Lamaze training class or something. The thread. So then Mama explains the thread, which surprisingly I'm not mad about. She basically explained to the girls what Yoda explained to Luke. But these witches are exiles. They are basically existing in fear of the Jedi and the Republic. So it makes sense that these exiled witches, who tap into the same power as the Force, I'll assume, would not want to call it the same thing that the Jedi call it. I do not have a problem with that. The problem I have is the execution of this episode. It sucks. What sucks? The execution of the episode. It goes lopsided at the ceremony. Now, again, May, I think the pinwheel develops on her left eyebrow. Again, we don't know what the ascension is. We know Osha don't really want to participate. When news of the Jedi reaches Mama and Mother Coral, Osha is interested. And then they invite the Jedi in. First, they treat the Jedi as if there's some invading horde. But in walk the 4 Jedi. I mean, they didn't sneak inside, but they were invited in. Master Indara, Master Torvin. No, he wasn't a master then. He was the Padawan of Master Indara. We see Sol, a younger Sol, with a different haircut. And we see Kel Naka. This is where the execution gets loopy. Kel Naka, the actor who plays Jonas, I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing his name. Ioannis Suotamo, who succeeded the late Peter Mayhew, rest in peace. I always wanted to see the Wookiee in Jedi robes, but it's done stupidly. You can tell the actor Ioannis, who's 6'11", he's a very tall man, just has on the Jedi outfit and just the Wookiee headpiece. And he looks like a goofball from Mad Magazine. His head looks too big, his body looks too small. It looks stupid. Okay? Those are just my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. Just my thoughts. And then this stupid chant song they do, power of one, power of two, power of many. The episode started nosediving right then and there. I said, this music sucks. It sucks. I mean, somebody deaf came up with the score. They had to have. And whoever implemented this, the director was a label. Is it directed by Boganada or something? It sounded like a Star Wars character. Maybe it was an AI that directed this episode. Okay. And then Osha reveals, first they try to hide the children, and the Wookiee senses them immediately. And he called out the person, the Mother Coral, who lied and said, there are no children here, with a Russian accent, sounding like Red Rush's wife from Invincible. So then the Wookiee says, rah, rah. I guess he basically said, B, you lying. There are children here. He didn't say that. But. So then Osha comes out, and then Saul shows her his lightsaber. His literal lightsaber. That's not a double entendre. He shows her his lightsaber. She's intrigued. He can tell, everyone else can tell, that she wants to be a Jedi. So then, again, I told you that the episode goes wanky at the Ascension ceremony, which precedes this. Then Master Indara, who's played by Carrie-Anne Matrix Moss Trinity, says that you can't deny us testing the children. And then she says, with your permission. I'm like, you've just contradicted yourself. You immediately contradicted yourself. So she says, not only will Osha be trained, but also her sister, May. So then they said, come back later, we'll let you test the girls. So they're discussing this, Mama and Mother Quarrel. Then out of nowhere, this dog-faced, I don't want to say dog-faced gremlin, because that would be an insult to Rick Steiner, but this dog-faced, Shar-Pei puppy old woman suddenly stands up, who was like hiding behind the other women, because there's nothing but women here. She walks up with wheezing words of wisdom. If they pass the test, we'll never see them again. But if they fail... And at this point, I'm scratching my helmet, saying, who thought it was a good idea to interject this Shar-Pei woman? So basically, they tell the girls, fail the test. And May says, promise me you'll fail. And Osha says, sure, they're probably her braids crossed or her fingers crossed behind her back. So at the test, Sol is administering the test along with Master Indara, and Torben is just standing in the hallway like a creep watching this. I think Kel Naka was doing something. No, Kel Naka was outside, showing his engineering skills, which I thought was probably where the idea was planted in Osha to become an engineer or mech tech herself. So during the test, Osha lies about what's on the screen that he's holding. facing him, but she can't see it. Remember Mace Windu did the same thing to Anakin in his test? He's like, a cup? A speeder? A spaceship? And he got them all right. Osha purposely gets them wrong, but Saul, he uses some wisdom here. He says correct. And when he said correct the second time, when it was really erroneous, she says, but it wasn't. And he says, why are you answering wrong on purpose? He showed his wisdom. I'm glad he used some kind of wisdom. And then he deduced, he said, who told you to fail on purpose? And then he talked about her using courage to tell her mother's, plural, and sister what she really wants, and to have courage. So then a very touching scene. May, of course, is upset that Osha wants to leave. So Mama, again, the ebony one, sends May away, or whatever. I think she went for a walk with Mother Coral, excuse me. Might as well be Quarrel. So then she's alone with Osha, and there's a heartfelt moment where she says, don't let fear make the decision for you. I thought that was the best line of the episode. Don't let fear or fear shouldn't make the decision for you. Something along those lines. So then basically she says, Mama, I really want to sing. No, not Mama, I want to sing. But Mama, I really want to be a Jedi. And there's a touching, I actually felt this moment. It was very well executed, except for one part. I felt that the scene should have been dragged out just a little bit more to show the conflict in Mama, because she would be saying goodbye to Osha forever. She would not see her again. She even told her so. I won't see you again. Which is the same thing that Anakin said to his mother. He asked his mother, Shmi, will I see you again? And his mother's like, I don't really know, or whatever. And then Mama, after they embraced, which I thought was good, she wiped her cheek where there was clearly no tears and no condensation. And again, it's a nitpick, I admit, but I felt that scene would have hit a lot harder than it did had we seen a conflict and seen a tear, okay? Then Osha had a tear magically on her face. A lot of fake tears in this one.
You exaggerate, Captain. I recall only one tear.
And again, the episode is already nosediving from this point because of execution, okay? So then, Osha is packing up to leave. May says, I won't let you leave. I'll kill you. And I'm like, okay. You just went full on Sith immediately. So then she locks Osha in her room. And then she takes a lantern with these, like, you ever see the top spire of a refinery where there's like a flame that's always burning? This little lantern had like 2 flames burning. And I don't know if she dropped it. You don't really see her do anything with it. But all of a sudden, the hallway in this stone, remember, I told you it's in the middle of a mountain, in this stone hallway is on fire. So it's like, wait, what's actually burning here? So then Osha uses her, a little, I guess she already has a gift for engineering because she like short circuits a panel and it opens like a vent and she crawls out of the room. So then she makes it to a huge reactor. The reactor blows up, so clearly May did something to it. And had there been like a concussive explosion and fire all around, I would have bought it. But instead, the thing blows up. It doesn't really blow up, but it kind of just stops working, makes noise, and there are little fires everywhere. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't doing anything. This is weak. This is a weak, like, cataclysmic event here. So then Osha sees May in that room. They both escape, okay? So, I'm trying to remember the details of what happened. But all of a sudden, they're on the middle of a bridge, May and Osha. And I said, these are black girls. No black girl would ever stand on a bridge in a room that's falling apart. I don't care how much they love the twins. Black people don't do that, all right? So they kind of get closer. May falls, Soul grabs onto Osha. So they assume May's dead. So he's walking Osha. He's trying to get her out of there, of course, because the place is falling apart somehow. No, it's not really falling apart. There's just fires everywhere. But nothing to die over. I mean, there wasn't even enough fire to create smoke inhalation, which is usually what kills people, okay? So then in this room, in the center of this room, are all these dead witches. None of them are burned. It's like, wait, there's no rocks, so they weren't pummeled to death by falling debris. I'm like, what? So then in another room, Mama's dead in the center of the room. So none of these witches heard the explosions. None of them saw the flames entering the room because they're huddled in the middle of the room. So nobody said, this is crazy, let's make for the exits. So she sees Mama dead, and she's like, of course she's a child. She's like, no, Mama, which made sense. But I'm like, wait, Mama doesn't have a scar on her. So Saul escapes with Osha. They're on their way to Coruscant. Like I said, the episode just really torpedoed at the Ascension sequence. It did. It just went south. Then at the very end of the episode, May is once again in the forest by the Bunta tree, which I think Keimer referred to the poison that killed Torben as Bunta. So obviously it's used, that poison was used from that planet somehow of Brendok. So then she just calls out Osha, and the episode ends. This was so wanky. Not, if I want to be a purist, maybe I could say it's so heretical, but I didn't take it as much heresy as other websites and YouTubers have. I honestly don't. That's just their spin on the Force. That's all it is. The fact that Mama conceived twins through the Force, that's basically what happened. It makes Anakin Skywalker less special. It makes him less unique. And I've always had an issue with Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker being less special. And I even had this issue with the Clone Wars, because it seemed that everything was a shadow or a type of Vader. Even General Grievous is a shadow of Darth Vader. And I never liked the fact that they cheapened Vader being the cybernetic being, even though I do like the General Grievous character. And his reasons for being a cyborg are different from Vader's, okay? He's a great character, but still it's like, why are we making Darth Vader less special? Then in Revenge of the Sith, I'm going somewhere with this, and it will tie back to the episode. Darth Sidious gives him everything, gives him his name. You should be known as Darth Vader. I'm like, corn. So I can understand why people say it's heretical, because it does cheapen Anakin Skywalker, who was conceived of the Force that has the highest midichlorian count on record. And clearly they were still recording it back when Osha was, inducted into the Jedi Order. Because Saul takes her blood, a blood sample, willingly. Okay. So I fault this episode for being stupid. I don't fault it for being heretical. I fault it for being stupid. I fault it for being poorly executed. And I fault it for just feeling so non-epic. This was a worthless episode. This entire episode could have been summed up with dialogue in the additional episodes. We didn't need to see this. It was worthless. So points off for worthlessness, points off for poor execution. But did it break Star Wars? No, this is Disney Star Wars. George Lucas's Star Wars is safe, okay? They can come out and just have a Hutt and a Vader mask and it won't matter, because it is Disney Star Wars. It is no longer George's. George Lucas had Star Wars, Disney has Disney Star Wars, okay? So, in line with Earth symbology and numerology and other ologies, I grade this a D. Poor execution, silly stupidity, bad music, bad episode. So that's about it. It gets a D from me. Give yourself to the dark side, which begins with D, as well as Darth Vader Unlimited. Subscribe.